In Jack McCallum's forthcoming book on the Dream Team, Clyde Drexler made some very candid comments suggesting that you received undue accolades shortly after you announced that you had HIV. I know you were unaware of these comments,
right.
So I want to read them to you. He said, very candid, he said, everybody kept waiting for Magic to die. Every time he'd run up the court, everybody would feel sorry for the guy. And he said that you were on the declining end of your career at that time period, and if it hadn't been for your diagnosis, he would have been the MVP that year. Mm-hmm. Is that a fair statement?
You know, I think that, you know, Clyde, I mean, if that's how he felt, that's how he felt, you know. I think that Clyde was a guy who always fought for more publicity, a guy who probably thought that he should deserve more credit, but you know, if he felt like that, I'm okay with it. You know, I'm not a guy who's going to be upset that he said these type of things. Okay. I think that what I would say is that, you know, to Clyde or anybody else, I didn't want any sympathy. The only thing I wanted was to be treated the same way you treated me before you knew I had HIV. And I think that it was a beautiful thing that I was able to educate the world that a guy living with HIV could still go out there and play at a high level. And then at the end of the day, I was able to educate a league that didn't know about HIV and AIDS, and that being the NBA. With the
world.
Yes, in a world. And, you know, a lot comes out after the fact that, I mean, here it is 20 years later. And now you want to make these comments 20 years later. Now, I know Clyde, you know.
Sure,
I know Clyde. So this is really funny you want to make these comments 20 years later. But at the end of the day, I got to take the high road. I don't have time to worry about what a guy felt like then. I'm a guy who just looks forward. I go ahead. And but you had a chance to say these things to me, or if you had a problem with it, you should have came out with it at that time. And then instead of hiding behind a book, you know, I'm never gonna hide behind anything. You know, I'm gonna tell you what time it is, and I'm gonna tell you how I feel. The difference between Clyde and I is that I figure out a way how to win. I don't sit back and ever say, well, the guy, you gave him all the sympathy and I should have been the MVP. I never say that. All the times that I should have won, do you know how many times I should have won? You know how many times I could say I could have done this? I'm not that guy. I'm that guy who says, you know, hey, I didn't win, I'll come back and win it next season. And I don't talk about MVPs. It's funny to talk about MVPs. He's not talking about championships. Oops.
Because that actually you
that's
did
who
beat
I am.
him
See,
that
I talk
year.
about championships.
That's a fair statement.
So I've never said why me with HIV. See, that's not who I am. I deal with what has happened. So it happened. I dealt with it, and I will continue to deal with it. That's who I am. And so when I see Clyde, I'm gonna hit him, hug him, and man, how you doing? How the family? How your wife? You know. I would never mention this because it doesn't mean anything to me. I just got to keep moving forward, you know.